Hello, welcome to YourTown television program. I'm your host, Paula MacNab, and I, as always, have the pleasure of interviewing and speaking with amazing, delightful, intelligent, informative people. So I get to share them with you, and I'm going to get right into our first segment with my guest, Marianne Rowe. And Marianne has a very interesting background as a meditation instructor, teacher, and so forth. So welcome to the program, Marianne.
Thank you, Paula.
Yes, I'm delighted to have you. I've heard great things about you, and we know a lot of people in common on this Monterey Peninsula.
We do.
When someone's name comes up several times, I pay attention. I pay attention. Yeah. So I'm delighted to talk with you this morning. And you have some very interesting and unusual things in your background, and I'd like to have you touch on some of those. And sure. I think I want to ask my burning question here.
Please.
Because if it's burning for me, it's probably burning for other people. We all know that meditation is good for us. We all know that flossing is good for us. But how many of us really do it?
Yes.
And so you've dedicated your life to this practice. I mean, I look back and you've got so many years of real commitment to this.
Yes.
Why did it become your life passion? And quite frankly, why should I care about mindfulness meditation for myself?
I love that question. Mindfulness is actually a practice of being kind and being awake and being aware. And for me, the benefits have been, as I've deepened my practice, I've become much more engaged with life. I'm more aware of what's going on with myself. I feel much more connected to other people, whether we agree or disagree. There's that leaning in with curiosity to discover what's there in this moment. And so that's been the big
So as a child, Marianne, were you a curious child?
Yes, I was.
I thought you were.
In both sense, a curious child and a curious child.
Good point. Good point. Tell me about that. What made you the curious child?
A deep love of being outside and of playfulness and a general attitude of let's see what happens. Let's go do this and see what happens. And so an ongoing willingness to engage and refresh.
So did you ever come to a point, or was there ever a time in your childhood, and I'm always intrigued with this because I think this happens as my own belief system is that as we're born, we're perfect, we are whole, we are enough.
Yes.
And we're shining little lights.
Yes.
And as life goes on, well-meaning parents and teachers and society says, you can't do that, don't say that, and, and our little light dims down.
Yes.
And all of us who are adults still have that light inside, I believe.
Yes.
So what was your experience as a little one? Did you have anybody dim that light down, or did you fight that, or did it not happen for you?
What a dear question. Yes, my light had, I think of it as like layers that are put on top of the light. The light actually stays bright, but there are different layers that are put on top of it. And so, and oftentimes those layers are what other people think we should be or what they want us to be, all in their best intention, but it may or may not match who we really are. And so this is a large part of why I became a marriage and family therapist, is to help people peel off or wash off those layers and reconnect with the light that's inside of them.
Yeah, interesting. So, because I really want to talk about your center, because I think that's of so much value to our viewing audience to really get this information. So talk to us about your center. Tell us the name of it.
The Monterey Bay Meditation Studio. Myself and Katie Dutcher, another meditation teacher here on the peninsula, opened this up a year just over a year ago. We celebrated our first birthday in January.
Congratulations.
And the intention was to provide a space where people could come to deepen their awareness and connection with themselves, with other people, and with the world around us. So nature is a big component of what we offer at the studio.
Where is the studio physically located, Marianne?
In Pacific Grove. It's catty-cornered from the Pacific Grove Library, right there on Central Avenue.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And at the end of the program, I'd like you to give the address and
Sure.
how people can get in touch with it.
Sure.
But so tell us about that. That's a real labor of love to open I'll call it a brick and mortar business.
Yes. Yes. Well, I've been teaching meditation in my office and in schools on the peninsula since 2006. But the classes that I offered for adults had pretty much started to outgrow the space that I had in my office. So I had a dream of having a space that was dedicated for this. And so to bring together people who are all, whether they share backgrounds or circumstances, what is shared is wanting to have a deeper sense of connection with themselves and others. And so to provide a space for that and start to build community around that. And what we offer is a secular approach. There are many meditation centers or institutes that come from a particular tradition.
I see
but
the
the
difference.
studio approach actually is quite new, and we didn't know it when we were forming this, that we came up with the idea of a meditation studio, and then started to find out that just in the past year or so, there have been meditation studios opening in New York City, in Philadelphia, in Southern California, but certainly nothing around here or in Central California.
Except for you.
Except for us.
Excellent. You know, it puts me in the mind of we're in 2017.
Yes.
And we are in a global change and upheaval situation, in my personal opinion.
Yes. Yes.
I see more divisiveness than I have ever seen in my lifetime. How do you speak to that, and how does meditation fit into that?
Well, I think of meditation as a way of developing it's like if you think of a keel on a sailboat. And so to be able to access deep inside a place of steadiness and peacefulness, then even if the storms are powerful, the sailboat doesn't capsize. And so being able to come home to a stillness and silence inside, it doesn't mean that we don't experience things or feel things strongly. It just means that we feel things strongly and we also hold a sense of balance at the same time.
Right, right.
And certainly in times of change, being able to connect with oneself and to discern what's most important or what we want to bring energy and attention to, then rather than getting pulled in the currents, because there are lots of currents and there's lots of fear-inducing information that's coming forward. And so to be able to not get caught in the swirl of that, but to have a sense of steadiness inside. And so that's the mindfulness part.
Right.
And then there's also a heartfulness part. So to be able to recognize the shared humanity that is here for us. And whether we agree or disagree, that's at a level of thought, but that all of us experience joy and grief and fear and all of our emotions. And so to be able to lean in and understand and be curious about how other people come to see the world that they do, so that we may not agree with it, but we can hold a sense of their perspective.
Right. And you know, one of the things that I've really been thinking about a lot lately, I do meditate, and when I don't do my practice,
Yes.
I can feel it. And your analogy
Yes.
of a sailboat
Yes.
is so true, because I find that things can really knock me off balance if I'm not in my center.
Exactly.
And when I'm on my center, it's almost like the yoga pose where you can push on me really hard.
That's right.
And I'm going to stand.
That's
Whereas if I'm a little shaky, because I haven't been doing my practice of going within and checking in with me, then you can say, Paula, your hair looks funny. And I go, oh my gosh, my day's ruined. You know, so it's so, I'm
Yes.
delighted to reconnect with, just for myself personally, this work and this talking about this. So say someone had never meditated. What, I think there's some misconceptions about meditation. What would some of those be?
That it's always blissful and always relaxing. That certainly that practice of getting quiet inside does not necessarily mean that we are quiet inside, but that we can access quiet, so that we may have very strong emotions or very intense thoughts occurring, but and we can become aware of those again without getting swept up by them. And when you were talking about having a steadiness, to think of it more of, it's not a rigidity.
Good distinction.
Think
Good
about
distinction, yes.
retrofitting for an earthquake, that the key is in having flexibility and being able to move with what's there without collapsing or without resisting.
Right.
And so the practice is actually developing a consciousness that can see what's going on, but that the thoughts and the emotions are still there, but we're just not caught up in them. We're not in the swirl of them. Yes.
So say a beginning meditator. So so someone comes to your center and said, Marianne, I heard you and Paula talking.
Yes.
I'm curious.
Yes.
What do you do with that person? What do you tell them?
Well, we begin with awareness of the body, because the body is the first sender and receiver of information from inside of us and outside of us. And so developing a connection and a consciousness with the body, of just being aware, like right now you and I know that we are sitting.
Right.
We know that we're not lying down or
Right.
standing.
Right.
And what part of us is it that knows that? And so beginning to develop that there is a consciousness of our body. And as far as we know, we are the only beings that have that ability to feel what we feel and know what we're feeling and that we're feeling at the same time. And so helping people become aware of their bodies and then become aware of their breath. And as people in a way become connected and friendly with their breath, then there is a natural relaxing that starts to occur. And then from there can be the coming home to the breath when we notice that our attention has gotten pulled away by a thought or an emotion. And so it is a practice, it's not a technique.
So what's the difference, Marianne?
Well, a practice goes on forever. That if you are learning to play the violin, then you practice it, and the possibilities are infinite. Whereas if you're learning how to change a tire, once you get it, you got it.
Right, of course, of course. Oh, interesting.
Yes, and so the effects of this practice are infinite and they're cumulative. But like diet and exercise, the benefits only come if you do it. You know, talking about it or reading about it or thinking about it doesn't make the difference.
You know, I've spoken to some people, and I was fortunate, as I mentioned earlier. I grew up on this Big Sur coast, and so I think I kind of grew up meditating.
Yes.
Because I was out in nature,
yes,
and that was just what I knew. And as I've grown and talked to people and traveled the world, I've heard people say, well, I'm afraid of meditating because I'm afraid that other spirits or bad energy will come in and take over my soul. How do you speak to? I didn't know what to say because that's just not in my consciousness, but it's definitely in others. And so in that light of curiosity,
yes,
what would you say to someone who said that? You've probably never gotten that question
I
before,
never
have
have.
you?
I've never had anyone express that fear.
Yeah.
But what comes to me is with mindfulness being a practice of being aware and thinking in terms of once we have awareness of something, we have choice about it.
Right.
If we're not aware, we're running on automatic pilot. And
Good point.
and so if once we have choice about things, then we
Yes.
can make a conscious decision about how we want to respond to it.
Right.
And so if a person was feeling uncomfortable and the meaning that they gave to that discomfort was some sort of negative spirit, then whether or not that was the case, they would have the opportunity to make a choice about how they want to respond to the discomfort.
Right, so that mindfulness brings you back to your own choice. That's a really powerful thought. So to go back to, because I'm very excited about the center. I'm going to be over there.
Yay.
I'm going to come and visit it, and I would like other people to come as well.
Yes.
So tell us again the address and how they get in touch with you.
Sure. So the address is 529 Central Avenue in Pacific Grove. It's the 2-story purple building. It's very easy to spot. We're up on the 2nd floor there. And the website is MontereyBayMeditation.com.
Excellent.
We offer retreats, drop-in sessions, courses. We do a lot of meditating and going out in nature and connecting with nature. In fact, we do a weekend retreat down in Big Sur in the fall. Yes, that's focused on coming back into connection and listening to the ocean, the trees, the rivers, the mountains.
Wonderful.
And
I also understand, I want to get this in, that you're a finalist in the Best New Business?
Best New Business of 2016.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. We are very, very honored that
And you said the only one that was, not a restaurant or a bar?
That's
or
it.
A restaurant or
a bar.
There's hope for this planet.
There is.
That's
and I attribute that to, that people, while they're hungry for food and drink, they're also hungry for connection. They're also hungry to feel aware and awake to what's going on.
What a lovely balance. And I thank you so much for bringing it, Marianne. It's just a delight to share, and I really look forward to having you on again on another segment.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Paula Joy MacNab. You've been listening to Your Town television program and hopefully watching it too. And we will be back. Thanks for joining us.